Hello, my name is Gustav. Welcome to my second class. With this class, I'm going to take you through some UX UI stuff. I had a friend ask me to help him with one of his classes, and what we're going to do is do some vehicle tracing. This helps with wireframing in websites, mobile devices, wearables, as well as inside vehicle UX, UI entertainment, and infotainment. I hope you learn a lot. Let me know if there's any questions you have in the comments below, and I'll show you my process. Thank you. Okay, so for this tracing I inserted, looks like a Model 3 Tesla, and it can be any car, but this is what I chose to use. I labeled my first background, the background layer, which is where the image is, and then the second layer will be my outline layer. In the outline layer, I'm going to take the pen tool and lightly trace around the vehicle shape. Where there's an intersection is where I'm going to make a point, and where there's a tight curve, I'm going to make a point, but I'm going to try to use the least amount of points as possible so it looks smooth. We want to avoid the lines being cut out looking or cut or harsh. Here I'm going to speed up the clip a little bit and show you how I work on the rear end of the vehicle. I change my line color to red. I always change it to a bright color that's obviously contrasting the photo in the background. And from here I'm just going to trace the tail light and the bumper and then the back end. And then up around the wheel well. And the wheel well is a little funny, but I can go back with the white arrow and clean up my points. This is just to create the shape of the body of the vehicle. And from here it looks like I'm going to take the white arrow and clean up the front end. It looked a little funny, so I wanted to redraw it. And I think I'm deciding here that I need to clip even that front piece. So we'll go back to our add point tool and redraw this front end. Make it look a little more exact. There we go. And looks like I'm going to fix the mirror here as well. I think I want to do a better job of lining up those points, and so I'm redrawing the entire mirror. It might help to go back and when you're doing your vehicle tracing, look at certain objects and how they overlap and make sure it feels like it's one piece. And here I'm just going to draw the door lines from the A pillar to the B pillar to the C pillar. And taking note of the curves on the vehicle. Make sure it lines up good. Starting new points where I need to. And then connecting the path. And some obvious curves we want to make sure we highlight. Like the way the light reflects off this line here, we want to make sure we capture that. And then zooming in to get the door handle detail. And from here it looks like we're going to keep the points sharp, but then I'm going to take the radius tool with the white arrow and give it a little bit of a rounded edge so it's not so harsh. And then I'm going to copy and paste it and duplicate that to use it right over on the other door. And that way it's consistent. And from here, I'm going to draw the windows. And a couple points. So again, just trying to use the minimum amount of points as possible. And here I'm going to add in the trim detail around the window. It's important to kind of get the angle and the spacing right, or else it'll look funny. And now the rear window, which is a part of the glass roof, I believe. And then kind of blending where the window meets the edge of the vehicle together. And now moving on to the rear and the tail lights. Again, making sure we use a minimal amount of points to accurately trace the lights in detail. And now I'm going to go inside and trace the detail of the lights on the inside, the reflectors and the lights themselves, and not just the lensing around it. So it looks like I'm going to draw the hard edge again and use my radius tool to draw the radius around it. So I'm going to draw the hard edge, take the white arrow, click on the corner path, and then select my radius. And here I'm going to do 27 points. You can see here 17 points there. And then now I'm going to draw the other side of the taillight that's on the trunk. And then we're going to do the same thing. Select the white arrow and select the point on the edge. And mark our radius. And now the contents on the inside. Some more detail here. And the rear trunk. I'm going to do the exact same thing here. Kind of line up my points. And then go back with the white arrow. Select the corner and the radius. And just kind of match it a little bit. And it doesn't have to be exact because this is a tracing illustration. So, and now the top of the trunk and the other rear tail light, using some of that same technique. Some of the interior of that tail light, and some of the interior detail of that tail light. And now I'm going to use my circle tool, my arc tool, and create a perfect arc where the trunk would be, the spoiler of the trunk, or that curve in the vehicle. And then I'm going to add points and subtract points. So add 2 points to where they were, and then subtract the points around to make that line of the spoiler look nice. The logo, just trace that real quick. And some of the detail on the bottom here. And on the other side as well. And here I'm adding some of the detail around the fender. And not drawing the entire fender. This is where you can use some artistic freedom and just show a little bit. And then taking the circle tool and mocking up the tire itself. And so I'm just kind of fitting it as best I can. And what visually will look good within the lines of the illustration, not necessarily the background vehicle itself. So I'm taking that same and duplicating the exact same circle and moving it to the front. So it's consistent. Rotating it where I need to. And then duplicating where the edge of that tire would be. So from here I'm going to cut out where it would be hidden behind the vehicle, duplicate and connect my points, and then delete paths. And again here, clean up paths where things are overlapping. And I'm going to do the same thing to the rear tire here. Duplicate, put on the edge, delete the points where the tire will be hidden, and adjust where it feels like it should be, and connect my point. And then again, looks like this one I decided to make it a little wider. And then delete my path after I make another point. There we go. And I think there's one more tire we're going to have to draw here. And here I'm just extending my canvas. And so that's how it's starting to look without the background. So you can see enough of the detail. It looks like it's detailed enough for a wireframe. And I'm selecting my vehicle as a whole and changing the color. And it looks like we're going to add that one last tire. And we're going to do the same thing. Just draw a circle. Doesn't make exact. Add 2 points and delete the additional points inside that circle to make it look like a tire. That's it for vehicle tracing. Okay, welcome to the next lesson. We're going to duplicate our tracing. Select everything. Expand. And then the Pathfinder tool, we're going to unite. And then we're going to release compound path. So we have just our outer shape of the vehicle. And we're going to take that outer shape and move it back over top of the vehicle we duplicated from. We're going to remove the fill and add a stroke. There we go. And from here we're going to start playing with our line weight to give a little more definition. We're also aligning that stroke to the outside, so it's keeping the detail on the inside of the vehicle. And from there we're going to start adding different line weights to different parts of the vehicle to give it different precedence. We're adding line weights to tail lights, as well as the windows, some of the door detail. And we're matching that to make it exact. And then we're going to fill the stroke on the inside for the handles. Go back to the spoiler to try and match that outer line weight, so it kind of feels like it's incorporated that. And then play around with thickening up the outer wedge, just kind of playing with everything to kind of give it some visual balance. And here I'm going to take the windows lines and make them consistent. And since this isn't lining up exactly at the point, I'm going to take my white pen tool or arrow and slide it over to look like it's meeting up with the outer edge. And it looks like there's some stuff missing down here, so we're going to redraw this bumper in that we forgot the first time around. Kind of add some detail in. And now it's starting to look like a more complete back end. And there we go. So now from here, I'm going to copy and rename our layer. And then we're going to duplicate it. And this will be our expanded final layer. So we'll expand the appearance. To fill in the stroke, we'll unite that object again to one giant shape. And now it's one piece. From here we can duplicate it, and we can scale it, and then duplicate that at any size. So now it maintains its line weights. And we're going to delete some of the extra stuff we don't need anymore from our released compound path and adjust our canvas. And we can take our duplicated and scaled objects and put them inside of our wireframes. I just mocked these up. These aren't actual wireframes, but I'm just showing like a mobile platform or browser and maybe some type of infotainment system and how that might work. I also like to have, if you want to use it more for Illustrator purposes, you could also change the color. So if I duplicate the object and ungroup and release the compound path like I was showing you earlier, we can slide that background color over and change the color of the background of the vehicle. like yellow, for example, or green, or yellow. If I duplicate my vehicle again, I can select the interior lines of the vehicle and knock them out to white, and now it looks like it's inverted. I can do that same thing in black and white. And if I wanted to mimic maybe a nighttime mode and a daytime mode, I would just change the background of my wire in the vehicle to show that it's lit up at night. And that's it for the vehicle tracing. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you again for taking my class. I hope you found it useful and you learned something new. This was a quick lesson in vehicle tracing specific to wireframes for UX UI. In our first lesson, tracing, we carefully traced the vehicle outline. We used minimal points and bended the curves appropriately to the contours of the vehicle. We went back and adjusted points with a direct selection tool or redrew them all together if it didn't fit. We added vehicle details such as door handles, body lines, as well as tires. In our second and final lesson, Fun Details, we began adding different line weights and additional details that we missed. We expanded our vehicle and united it. This allowed us to place the vehicle in our wires at any scale while maintaining the graphic weight. I would love to see what type of vehicle illustration you create. Please share in class project section or tag me on Instagram at Gustav5. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.